next up, Nirvana, 5-star hotel in my pajamas. I'd like to climb the Mount Fujiyama, circle around the island, driving a Yamaha.
Hey there, it's Melody from Lamoon. I've got a special treat for you all today, a step-by-step video showing my creative process for bringing a post like Cammy to life. This one is inspired by the classic animated film, Spirited Away. But since I'm not a native English speaker, I'm using text-to-speech so you don't have to suffer through my charming French accent. Now, I love using the AI tools at my disposal to bring new twists to old favorites. And one of my favorite features is the ability to create movie stills from films that never actually existed. So for this project, I'm going to imagine a live-action version of Spirited Away. But because I like to make things interesting, I'm going to feature it in my Cinema Trivia segment as a lost film that's just been rediscovered. I'm thinking I want to set it in the 80s or 90s, since those are my favorite decades and I have a special place in my heart for the movies I grew up with. I was born in '85. Plus, it'll give me the opportunity to say that this made-up movie is the original, Spirited Away, set before the real one came out in 2001. Are you ready to dive into the creative process with me? Let's get started. I'm going to show you how I use Midjourney to bring my creative ideas to life. I like to start by asking for exactly what I want in as few words as possible. This sets the bar for whether or not the idea is feasible. In this case, I asked for a Ghibli's Spirited Away live-action movie, and as you can see, I received some drawings. I always generate multiple results to make sure it's not a fluke. Next, I try something a little different. I ask for a screen grab from 1980's Spirited Away movie. By adding certain terms and specifying a decade, I'm trying to force Midjourney to change its style. But unfortunately, I still haven't had any luck. I decide to try a photographic style and request a real-life photo. Since the first result isn't very clear, I upscale it to see if it looks realistic or if it's still too much of a drawing. While I'm waiting, I try specifying a location, like the bathhouse. This time, the result is photorealistic, but it doesn't have any elements from Spirited Away. I think I'll try summoning the no-face character, whose name is Kayanashi. I try adding his name and a decade to the prompt. The results are okay, but I don't think I'll use them. I have an idea. Let's try Niji, the Japanese sister of MJ. You can conjure her by adding Niji to the end of the prompt. Her model is trained on anime and manga, so I'm hoping for something that fits the style I'm looking for. Unfortunately, the result is more like a drawing. The upscale from before is ready, and it doesn't look realistic either. I'm starting to lose hope, but I decide to try one last trick. When you're trying to render a surreal subject in a realistic way, it can be helpful to throw in the name of Alejandro Jodorowsky, since he's a master at this sort of thing. And look, out of the 4 images I received, I've got one that looks almost realistic. I think I'm onto something. After upscaling the image, I can see that it has the photorealistic quality I'm looking for, but it still needs some work. Now that I know what's tripping up Midjourney, I can write a prompt that will work consistently. I'm going to keep screen grab and live-action movie, and I'll add directed by Alejandro Jodorowsky. I'll also include a reference to Wes Anderson, whose movies have a colorful, dreamy photorealistic style, and the term real-life photography. I run this prompt multiple times and upscale a few images to see if they look the way I want. This is looking really good. In the end, I decide to go with just Jodorowsky as the reference, since the color scheme was a little too intense for my taste, and I suspect it came from Wes Anderson. Now, the image looks exactly how I want it to. Time to start working on the actual content. Next up, I want to make a mental list of the scenes from the movie that stand out in my mind, without looking up the movie on the internet. If I can remember them, they're important enough, plus Instagram only allows for 10 images in a carousel. Right away, I think of Kamaji, the spider-like old man who works in the boiler room with the little black balls with eyes. I try throwing the character's name at Midjourney to see if it's already listed in its database, but no luck. The images I'm getting back are still really cool, though. I try adding at Susuwatari, the name of the little black balls, but still nothing. I even try adding Niji, but that doesn't give me what I want either. However, I do get an amazing shot of the Twilight City coming to life at night, with a giant spirit in the background. I know that this will be my cover image. I continue tinkering with this prompt for a while, but I want to focus on a specific scene from the movie now. The first big moment in the movie is when Chihiro's parents eat at the restaurant and turn into pigs. I like to structure my prompts in a consistent way, so I keep my basic formula and add specific details separated by commas. For this scene, I describe it as Chihiro and two pigs eating in a restaurant. I don't need to be too specific, since some details are implied, like the fact that it's a Japanese restaurant. I like the first image I get back, so I upscale it. I'm not done with the Susuwatari yet, so I try uploading an image to Discord so I can use it to image prompt the black balls. The pig image has already been upscaled and looks great. I try using the image prompt with and without the old Kamaji and the Susuwatari and a Niji, but the results are too cartoony. So I try one last thing, deleting the image prompt and describing the scene from my memory as little black ball creatures, and adding Niji. Bingo! The third image is exactly what I'm looking for. They're so cute. Let's skip ahead to the next scene. I want to capture the no-face character giving gold to Chihiro. I remember pretty clearly that the gold comes out of its hands. I add no-face spirit is giving golden nuggets to my basic prompt and generate multiple results. I left it Niji in there, but I'm not sure if it's working for this scene. Some of the images are interesting, though. While I'm waiting for the results to come in, I decide to try something else. I remember the giant baby in Yubaba's house, named Kitaru. So I start playing around with that concept. The upscaled images from the no-face with a Niji have arrived, but the quality isn't good enough. I generate the prompt a few more times to make sure. I try Bo the giant baby Kitaru, and the results are better. I like the one with the giant head, so I upscale it. The next batch is a bit disappointing. There are more no-face images, but they're not what I'm looking for. Now I try the giant baby without Niji, and it's much better. I upscale images 3 and 4 and regenerate the prompt just to be sure, but I'm pretty confident that I've got the one I want. I really don't want to give up on the no-face character, Kayanashi, but I'm still not having any luck. Let's try another scene. I remember when a disgusting spirit enters the bathhouse and Chihiro is asked to take care of it as a hazing. It turns out to be a beautiful dragon river spirit who has been polluted by humans and looks gross. I use the many commas technique to describe the scene. Commas help Midjourney give more weight to each term without using multi-prompts. I enter the ugly, dirty spirit, muddy, disgusting, smelling, green vapors in the bathhouse to see what comes back. The third image is really cool, even if it doesn't look much like the movie. More upscaled images of no-face arrive, along with more generations of the giant baby. The first baby upscale isn't good, it looks too much like a statue, and the kid looks too young to be Chihiro. Then there are more images of the disgusting spirit, but that's not the vibe I'm going for. As you can see, I'm sometimes insecure about finding the right image, and I continue generating more from the same prompt. It's a mix of fear of missing out on the next great image and curiosity. Here, I have another candidate for the giant baby. I really like the first one. Okay, back to no face. Without a Niji, it looks much better. Let's upscale images 3 and 4 to get a better look at what it looks like. I'm trying a different scene now. I want to see if Midjourney knows Yubaba, the old witch with the giant head. But the result isn't what I'm expecting. The upscale of the giant baby is great. I'll have to choose between two fantastic images for this scene. The two upscaled images of no face look good, but I can't use them because I want to see the gold. So I change my prompt to no face Kayanashi spirit with big gold nuggets in hands. Yes. That's what I wanted. Let's keep generating until I find the perfect one. I try Yubaba Old Witch with my next Yubaba prompt, and I get Japanese grannies. The first one is cute, but not scary enough. The second generation of no-face images are getting really close to what I have in mind. I upscale images 2 and 3 to get a better look. I add a Niji to the Yubaba prompt, and it gives me scarier grannies, but still not the Yubaba that I have in mind. The first one could work though, as it would probably be played by a real actor in a live-action movie. The first Yubaba upscale is beautiful, but I don't think it will work. Back to no face. The generations are getting better and better. I upscale image 2, even though it looks like he's made of gold in his strange hands. I think in this case, the weird MJ hands work perfectly for a no-face spirit. The first 2 upscaled images have arrived, but the hands look too human, so I discard them. Our Aniji Yubaba has also arrived, but she's not scary enough. I try Aniji generation one more time, but decide to stop there because I have other ideas. The last no-face generation is here and it's perfect. Image 4 is exactly what I'm looking for. The expression, the black cloak, the hands, the gold, everything is perfect. Here are more weird results from the Putrid Spirit prompt. And here is the amazing no-face upscale. It looks so cool. I decide to add some humor to the Putrid Monster prompt, with the gigantic ugly dirty spirit, roots, tentacles, spaghetti, smoking hookah, green ectoplasm, muddy, disgusting, smelling, green vapors. In the bathhouse. I want more roots and green smoke, so I use these words to emphasize certain characteristics. Sometimes if you just ask for tentacles, you'll get an octopus head too, so I've found that spaghetti works really well. The same goes for colored smoke, it works better if you ask for ectoplasm. You can be really creative with finding new words that work well with MJ. I tried generating images of the Putrid Spirit, but they weren't quite what I had in mind. Nope. Neither this one. Maybe it's time to get the secret weapon for weird stuff. The Chaos. Chaos is a tool allowing you to let MJ go more in the randomness area. You can set a number between 1 and 100, 100 being to craziest. Sometimes you get much more interesting results with it. So I set it to 50 just to see. I also revisited the image of the pig scene, as I wasn't satisfied with only having one pig in the image. The first generation of the Putrid Spirit turned out to be perfect, a big, ugly, green monster. I also looked back at the images of the big baby and decided to upscale one that was split in 2 with the baby's head at the top, and Chihiro at the bottom. It looked great. I continued generating more images of the green Putrid Spirit to make sure I had the best one. More. And more. I'd like to change the pig's prompt to see if I can get them eating. I add Chihiro and 2 pigs eating disgustingly in a restaurant, dripping saliva to the prompt, but it doesn't work. However, the third image is great because it looks like there is a before and after. I also get more putrid images, and more pigs. I like this one, but I think I prefer the pig in the first image I got. Now I'm ready to work on a different scene. I want a general wide shot of the bathhouse with all the spirits bathing and relaxing. I have to be careful because the word bathing is forbidden in MJ, so I add frog spirits, fat spirits, and yokai washing in the bathhouse, wide-angle shot to my prompt. The images look really cool. I upscale number 1. I also get more putrid images and I upscale the first one. I can't seem to let go of this theme. More bathhouse ambience. The first one here is the one I decide to keep because it features a variety of spirits creatures working in the bathhouse, and the lighting and details are great. Just to be sure, I generate a few more images. For the next scene, I want to show Chihiro taking care of the young river dragon who is enslaved to Yubaba. To do this, I use the prompt Chihiro and the wounded white river dragon, and am pleasantly surprised when the perfect image appears in the first generation. More ambience upscaled shots. And more. And more. Next, I want a scene where we see Chihiro washing the floors in the bathhouse. I go with this exact prompt. I'm really in luck because image 4 is already perfect. Beauty. I'm thrilled with the image of the dragon. I believe I've almost captured everything I wanted. I try to get more images of Kamaji, the kind spider spirit, by asking for images of him as an old man with a beard, wearing black round sunglasses, and working in a big oven. However, the results resemble a strange baker. I remove the oven from the prompt and get two convincing images. I decide not to keep them because I later recall that there was a water train involved in the story at some point, and I realize I had a really good image of it earlier. After this, I have all the pieces I need to create a twisted, impossible story about how Jodorowsky stole the movie from Miyazaki in 1992 through Kurosawa. I just found out that they met at some point, which makes the story slightly plausible if someone checks the timeline on the internet. Damn. I really enjoy creating those fake cinema trivia. Finally, I use ChatGPT to enhance my English writing into something wittier for the Instagram caption. And voila! Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I did making it. If you have any feedback or suggestions, feel free to leave a comment. I'm always open to hearing new ideas. Thanks for sticking around until the end. Zoxo, Lu Moon.
Satisfaction.